Before I show you this super, super simple technique that you can use every day, in fact, I recommend you use it every day if you're dealing with anxiety, depression, just sort of a downer, your hormones can throw you into, as women, cycle you into areas, phases of the month where you're going to dip and you'll feel like you're dealing with depression, but then you'll come out of it. And this is going to help you regulate to be more even. But before I teach you the technique, I want to tell you a brief story about my family history. Something that I got really connected with through my years of healing was understanding the different patterns, issues, and themes that my ancestors had lived with to understand better what had been passed on generationally. Now, you may have heard me talk about in the other videos I have content here about depression that I come from the generational pattern of depression on both my father and my mother's side, quite heavily actually. My father had pretty severe depression that he dealt with most of his life, and my mother, it was very on and off and not quite as dramatic and as intense. But the story I want to share with you is about her mother, my grandmother, who was born in around the turn of the century, around 1900. There's actually some discrepancy in her birth date. There is a possibility that she was conceived illegitimately, which is an incredibly big no-no in that time period of just really keeping that a secret, the shame involved, that her mother was I don't have any photos of my great-grandmother really to speak of. Well, I do, but it's been interesting to peg her energy type. My sense is she's a type 3 because she was a kind of a rebel of her day. She couldn't live the cultural status quo for a woman. And my grandmother very well could have conceived, my great-grandmother could have conceived my grandmother out of wedlock, because we have actually record of a birth certificate with a 2-year variance. So the genealogists I worked with actually said in those days, because of the shame of that occurring, they would alter the birth record to reflect after the marriage. And we have a birth record prior to the marriage. They did get married, and one after. They didn't stay married long. My great-grandfather, know next to nothing about him. He took off. So my grandmother had depression, and a very severe case of depression. It really became heightened and difficult for her by the time she was 47, in her most likely pre-menopause stage. And her hormones were very, probably way out of balance. Plus, she had a lot of wounding and trauma and most likely abuse from her childhood that had gone unhealed. But at 47, due to the deep, deep depression my grandmother was in, she actually tried to take her own life. And at that time, nobody talked about this. It was silenced. It was, hush, hush. You've got to hide this. Can't let people know. It's embarrassing. It's shameful. And my grandmother was put into a psychiatric ward. And over time, they just didn't even have the information that we have nowadays that will help heal this. Because as I've learned from Dr. Amen's work, it's a brain health condition. Things are off in your brain. It's not a condition of your morality, that you're somehow this terrible person that you've tried to take your life. Her brain wasn't working correctly. It wasn't balanced. It was a condition that she suffered from, and I understand that now. I've gone through cycles of my own and kind of facing those feelings and healed it, thankfully. And my grandmother lived in a time when it was unacceptable to even be honest about it. And my mother, who's now deceased, said, when I inquired, I got very curious about all this. It was very difficult for my mother to talk about it because it was still that lingering shame. And she said, I don't even know if my brother, who's now deceased as well, her elderly brother, even knew that his own mother had that incident occur. And I'm just like, wow, just unfortunate. And I love this quote, this comment that was shared in my other video, Depression, essential oils for depression, how to use for natural healing. This viewer shared, the stigma is still there, but it's getting better. That's one thing I love about the current generation. They are talking about lots of issues with open and accepting minds toward them. And I believe that's healing society. And I agree 100%. And as someone that's dealt with this and seen it in my family members, really done the accounting of their history, and now I'm playing this role to be the generation that, really wraps it up once and for all and says, we're done with this. We don't have to keep experiencing this in such a debilitating way. And I'm grateful for that. So for yourself, think of in your family line, the history. If you deal with depression, is it something that's genetic? Is it generational and it's being a pattern, energy pattern? So we have both the genetic influence and the energy pattern that is passed on that's never been healed. And with that, see that it's something bigger than you. It's not you. You're playing a role in it. You have an opportunity to heal it. And you can heal it because as you get support, whether it's from me, I have a wonderful healing plan for depression that's life-changing that is at healwithcarol.com. You get 2 free weeks. I highly encourage you to go and try that out and learn about energy healing and its role in this whole experience. It may take some adjustments in your diet, supplementation, even medication is appropriate because we're getting your brain healthy. But in the meantime, essential oils can make a huge difference. So this little simple technique is to use, I have 4 oils here. I Am Joyful is the go-to when it comes to depression. It really instates feelings of joy and raising the vibration, which just brings your feelings up. I've got the I Am Nurtured because it's a good chance it's an inner child part of you that has not healed and you need to nurture this wounded part of you. The I Am Present. We tend to either disassociate or disconnect from our bodies quite often if we're dealing with depression. We don't want to be here. We want to leave. So this will get you back in your body because you can't heal anything if you're not in your body. You have no power. The I Am Balanced oil as well can be used because it helps all your chakras get open and balanced. And when your chakras are working, everything just feels better in life. So I'm going to use the I Am Balanced oil because I actually teach other oils in other videos. This technique is so easy. Which part of your anatomy has one of the highest absorption points that enters your blood and your nerve endings? Yes, your feet. Did you know that? Good for you. So, I don't know if I'm going to show you my foot today. Here's my foot. All you got to do, and the key here is when you're depressed, you typically don't feel like helping yourself. So you have to put a reminder in your phone. This has been my go-to for getting me to follow through when my familiar habit is to neglect myself and not take care of myself because I don't feel like it. Because you don't feel good about yourself. You tend to think a lot of negative thoughts when you're feeling depressed. And so put a reminder in your phone. I do twice a day, morning, evening, do it when you get up to get this going, get your system responding, and then before you go to bed, because there's a lot of repair and healing that happens while we sleep. So you're just going to take like 3 drops, and you're just going to rub that all over the bottom of your feet. And then and your feet are going to really take that in, bring it into your bloodstream and in the nerve endings. This communicates with your brain because your nerve endings are all connected to your brain. So get that on your feet. Walking in joy. I'm walking in joy. I'm walking in a balanced state. I am present in my body. I am nurtured. I am whole and healed. You can start thinking that. I'm actually in the process right now as I'm recording this of recording the 20th anniversary updated edition of Remembering Wholeness. And I just recorded a couple days ago the Energy Healing for Depression chapter. And the thing I stress in that I think is very valuable is you can change your thoughts in any given moment, regardless of how you're feeling. And so you're going to train yourself when you, at the same time, you use this simple technique of putting the oil on your feet to boost and bring your energy up. And you get the oils at caroltuttle.com/oils. They're premium blends, one of a kind. I worked with a master aromatherapist in creating these. They very specifically designed for a healing purpose on emotional, physical, mental level. And you want to then state the affirmation, because even if you're feeling lousy, feeling depressed to whatever degree that runs for you, you have the power in that moment to change your thinking. I am joyful. Just right there. I am joyful. It says it right on the label. I am nurtured. If you're not sure what to say, read the label. I am present and I am balanced. That's pretty heavy duty if you were to use all four. But the thing is, use your thinking mind to bring into your present moment awareness what you want, what you think about, you create. Your feelings will catch up as you start to make corrections at the physical level to help your brain get healthy, heal this generational pattern that is in most people's experience with depression, the common experience. Go to caroltuttle.com and check out my, healwithcarol.com. Let's use that one. And check out my energy healing plan, the healing plan for depression. You do not have to survive this. You don't have to tolerate it, live with it. Just, it's not you. It's not your identity. It's your experience, and it can be healed. And I'm one piece of that experience to support you in that journey. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, sharing this video with someone that you know needs support, that's looking for encouragement, and kind of the light at the end of the tunnel, because it gets pretty dark in there when you're in a deep depressed state. True diagnosed depression, you know, it's not like something you can just bounce out of because your brain's not working, but there's things you can do to get it working properly. And thanks for sharing in a comment what you learned from this today.